Week 13 in Project 70 was like nothing we had seen before, and Week 14 is off to another strong start. What is going to be the #1 selling card of this week? I wish it was going to be the DJ Ski Honus Wagner. That's not going to be the card that sells the most. It's of course going to be the Alex Pardee. Do you kind of expect to see Alex Pardee put up rather a high number here, maybe 8,000, 9,000. So hey, pretty close there. That print run on that Alex Pardee came in 9,137. But welcome to episode number 35 of the Project 70 show. My name is Chris, otherwise on Twitter and Instagram is at CRT_sportscards. And my website is your #1 reference for everything related to Project 70. That is simply CRTsportscards.com. And this is, of course, Tuesday. It's on a Monday video, but over the weekend, I did release pricing on first artist and player cards. And I'll tell you something was very surprising. 31 of the 51 cards, when you compared last week's average price of the sales to their 4-week average, had an increase. So there is positive movement happening on the secondary market right now in Project 70. But now, why do I say week number 13 in Project 70 was like nothing that we had ever seen before? Yes, cards came out. Yes, Project 70 moved forward. But it's simple. This is the very first time we saw 20 cards in a week, 4 per day, all 5 days, and it gave us a real sense of where the set is going in the short term when it comes to the buyers, what the average print runs were. But let's take a look at all 20 print runs. Let's see if we can find any common themes from last week. So now here is every single card that released last week, along with its performance versus the average of Project 70 at the end of the week. And if you take a look at the screen, the #1 thing that stands out to you is a simple fact that only 3 of the 20 cards are currently over the average in Project 70. And not even Ben Baller could get over the average. That Hideki Matsui came in just a couple of hundred under the average right now of 3,451. But more importantly here, what is the average for last week? Now, there is, of course, a outlier performance in last week. That Alex Pardee, Willie Mays, over 9,000 really skews the number. So if you take a look at the print run with that card, last week, 2.3K. But when you remove it from the equation, look at just the other 19 cards, the average came in just over 2,000. So we are definitely starting to experience and really see how the buyers are shifting when it comes to being able to afford their cards in this set. Of course, with 20 cards a week, 4 per day, it's going to get expensive very, very fast. And I will tell you, I really appreciated all of the comments on the Friday video about your thoughts around the dropping print runs. A lot of them had the same things in mind. My biggest takeaway when I read all of them all together was the fact that the set is large. We get that, 1,020 cards. But because it's so large, we have lost really the ability to experiment with other artists because we know we're locked into maybe a Brittany Palmer or a Gregory Siff or a Seth set. You know, there could be certain artists that you're always going to buy, and there's just now no other available funds, so you're going to have to wait and see cards drop off and not be purchased by you. And I think a great example of that sort of experimentation is with an artist like JK5, who released their 4th card in the set today with Carlton Fisk, another new player. We are approaching 100 players in the set, so that's very nice to see. But JK5 is an artist that you really have to buy their cards and study it. You cannot look at the screen on Topps.com and really begin to even come close to understanding the card. Yes, his videos are phenomenal. They are a literal must watch when it comes to understanding the card. But when you get them in, the emotion, the discovery, really the personal discovery around these cards are tremendous. And unfortunately, with the set being so large, if you're not into JK5 right now, you are not going to buy that card. And the same goes for last week. When you take a look at Pose with Adrian Beltre, Ranger fans wanted a card really badly, but what is it now? It is now the lowest printed card in the set. Also, on the foil chase for that card, it is actually 1 out of every 14 is going to have a foil. So don't expect those to be too highly sought after on the secondary market because they're actually quite common right now. And then, of course, also the Mickey Mantle by the Shoe Surgeon. That card coming in my opinion, very low, 3,000. So maybe those artists were lost in the fact that people didn't buy their first cards, and when those cards came out, they just didn't buy them. But now on the complete opposite side of artists like Pose with that Adrian Beltre and Matt Taylor's Mark McGuire, the second lowest printed card in the set right now, is an artist that is literally destroying the set with every single card that gets released. And so let's take a look at the top 10 printed cards right now in Project 70. So currently right now, to make it in the top 10, you must sell over 9,000 copies of a card. The 10th best card right now is Andrew Thiel's Mickey Mantle at that 9,067 mark. But there's one undeniable fact when you take a look at this top 10 list. This is Alex Pardee set. Every single card of his, all four, are in the top 10. So when you think about people not experimenting with certain artists, everybody is buying Alex Pardee's cards, and they are buying him in a monster number. No pun intended here. I cannot believe this deep into the set, an artist has released every single card in the top 10. And when you think about the dropping print runs, I don't know if anyone is ever going to be able to repeat this feat, or if anyone is ever going to be able to get 4 of their cards in the top 10. So congrats, Alex Pardee, on another amazing performance with your Willie Mays. I cannot wait to see what your 5th card is in the next couple of weeks. And also, not to get lost in the Alex Pardee show, here is DJ Ski. I did also want to congratulate him on that Honus Wagner print run, selling 5,000 copies of a T206 player. Yes, it's Wagner, is still an amazing feat. And when you think about maybe the high watermark when it comes to cards that release this week, are we going to see a card get to 4,000? Are we going to see a card get to 5,000? Because 5,000 and 9,000 right now are just some incredible numbers. But now taking a look at the Monday cards. The Monday cards for me, all 4 of them, were a massive success, and I purchased all 4 cards. But which one was my favorite on Monday? Now, the one that caught me off guard the most was actually Chinatown Market's Doc Ellis. When you think about Chinatown's first 3 cards, you feel they're very safe, very kind of routine for the set. But here it is, Doc Ellis. And yes, Doc Ellis himself is not maybe controversial, but when you think about his historical mark in the game when it comes to pitching a no-hitter on acid, when you think back to Ermsey's first card, to see Chinatown Market go in this direction, I thought was interesting, very colorful, a lot of interesting references here. Not my favorite. This card, of course, was my throw-in card with the bundle. I'm collecting the 3 other artists, but it was nice to see Doc Ellis in the set for a second time, because there are a lot of players out there that are in the set for 1 time, and I am surprised to see Doc Ellis already have 2 cards. And now maybe the card that I was disappointed in the most, but from an absolute fun factor, is going to be Cess with his Jim Abbott. And if you're Topps, you spell Jim Abbott with 2 T's. Thankfully, they changed it over the last couple of hours after the card was released. But the reason why I was disappointed in this card is my theory on Cess's cards was that he was going to be adding a creature to every single card. There was 3 on the Aussie, but when you think back to Jim Abbott here, when you look at the card action, not thinking about it, there are only 2. You have the dinosaur and you have the regular octopus on the card. And look, from a kid who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, I'm very happy to see Jim Abbott have a card. I was just hoping for a little more creature play on this card, but look, you can't argue with the Cess card. If you like his style, you're going to like this card, and for me, this was an automatic buy on Monday. And now my second favorite card of the day is probably the card that you think is going to be my favorite card of the day, but it is going to be Bobby Hundreds with his Will Clark. And yes, your screen is not wrong. This is an error card. There's a massive amount of glare on this card. Do not change your settings. This is what Bobby Hundreds is doing in Project 70. He's creating his Error Terror set. And here again, I'm very happy to see another player included in the set. We need variety. We need more subjects being released. And it's great to see 1986 Will Clark released in this set. The question is, how many different errors are in this card? And now if you follow me on Twitter, my tweet last night that was deleted because of my just insane mistake. I was thinking about Cess here with Tom Seaver, but then I wrote Crayola with Jim Abbott. But no, Jim Abbott is not dead. What I was trying to communicate here is with Cess releasing his second deceased player in the set. Of course, you have the halo over Tom Seaver in the Subway. Is Cess here doing a 50-50 split? Is he going to do 10 deceased players, and is he going to do 10 alive or / active players in his set? It's going to be interesting to see where his set goes. You know, I'm a massive fan of graffiti. I like the Subway. I've been in New York one time. When I think of New York, I think of the Subway. So for me, this is my favorite card on Monday. Although Tom Seaver is about this big in the entire card, this card feels like it's more about everything but Tom Seaver, but it is Cess and Tom Seaver's second card in the set. So now when you think about print runs from the Monday cards, where do we think they're going to land in rank order? What card's going to sell the most? What card is going to sell the least? And so when you take a look at sort of the history of all 4 cards, just from a number perspective, you can make the argument that Crayola plus Jim Abbott will equal the lowest selling card on Monday. I do believe, though, that every single card will sell over 1,000. I think it's still harder to sell under 1,000 and to get over 10,000. But when you look at the second and the third cards here, you can probably mix in here the Will Clark by Bobby Hundreds and the Doc Ellis by Chinatown Market. But that card could surprise us. That card could come in over 2,000. But I do think when you think about the New York market, you think about Tom Seaver, this is going to be the best-selling card on Monday, and it will be the Cess card. And so while the Monday cards for me as a collector of Project 70 were all up arrows at the end of the day, the Tuesday cards were not so straightforward for me. And we've already spoken a little bit around that JK5 Carlton Fisk. You know, for me as a collector of JK5, that is an automatic buy because I have all of his Project 2020 and 70 cards, so no questions there. But that leaves us just 3 cards left for today. And we're going to go first here. We're going to stay in Seattle. We're going to go with that Jonas Never. We're going to step back into 1998. So if you're not a Mariners fan or you know anything about the turn ahead the clock game they played in 1998, this card is a direct reference to that game on, I believe, June 30th. And so I actually got to watch that game for the very first time last year during COVID. I think Root Sports replayed that game. It was amazing to watch, to think about what the fans were seeing, how the players were dressed, backwards hat, cut off sleeves. So this is clearly a time period piece. It takes us back to 1998. So thank you, Jonas Never. Even though this is an artist who I've critiqued a little bit for releasing Justin Turner first in his set, I'm very happy to see an artist take us all the way back to 1998 and the turn ahead the clock game. And you know what? I do not have any connection here on a personal level to Ken Griffey Jr. as a Mariner player. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and give this card away for free. Right now in the comments below, 2 things must happen. Number 1, you must be subscribed to the channel, so hit that button if you're not subscribed. But number 2, put your print run guess below for this card. The person nearest the print run without going over will win this card free for me. And we have yet to hit a foil and maybe even a goal in the future of one of these giveaway cards. So I hope that this is the card that we hit the foil of when it comes to this channel's free card giveaway. And so that leaves us with just 2 cards left for today. We have the Jesus Thurman Munson from Claw Money, and we also have Morning Breath with their Juan Soto. Speaking here specifically on the Claw Money Thurman Munson, I am very happy to see the claw in Claw Money, the logo, be bigger on the card. That is her trademark, and I know she said in her interview she didn't want to make it the most predominant thing on the card, but I was very happy to see that this claw, her logo, is bigger on this card. Now, the direction of the Thurman Munson in the clouds, yes, he passed away, you know my story when it comes to Cess's Thurman Munson. I don't get the same feeling with this card. I understand why it's made the way it is, but for me, it's just a very, very easy pass. Not my favorite on Tuesday. And now when you took a look at that Morning Breath Juan Soto card this morning and said, you know what? That looks like another player from the NL East, but maybe from another century. You wouldn't be wrong here because that's exactly what I thought about when I saw this Juan Soto. To me, it looks like a Chipper Jones card for some reason. I just see Chipper Jones in this card. I can't see Juan Soto. So it is, of course, a card that is in style with Morning Breath. I like the stencil artwork. You can see World Series champions in the background. There are some cool things about this card, but for me, I cannot unsee Chipper Jones batting left-handed in this card. So now where do I think these 4 cards are going to land in relationship to each other on that ever-famous print run scale? I think number 1, the bestseller on Tuesday is going to be that Ken Griffey Jr. Second here, it's going to be that Juan Soto. Third, we're going to see JK5 with that Carlton Fisk. And I think, unfortunately, Thurman Munson will be towards the bottom of the print run scale in Project 70. I don't think it'll be at the very bottom. It is a Yankee, but I do think that card's going to come in 4th on the Tuesday cards. With that, have a fantastic week. Buy the cards you want on the Topps.com website, and I'll see you back on Friday evening for episode number 36 of the Project 70 show.